The Flash, issue 2, Legacy 802, Cy Spurrier writing with Mike Diodato Jr. So, issue 1 was a little bit divisive for us. I liked it a bit more than you, and you liked it a bit more than Connor. Connor was the surprise, surprise. Connor was the poo-pooer of the group. Certainly, I'll say this. So the first issue was very oversized, whereas this one is not. This one's a standard size comic, which I think does help it a bit. I will say though, I was feeling a little rough on the first half of this issue. So he's fighting the apes, and this sort of like interdimensional alien sort of thing has come out of the Speed Force or whatever it is. And Wally ends up in one of these like bubbles that we saw taking people away last issue, and he ends up being taken to this group of beings called the Stillness, who look like they're kind of almost Flash-esque looking in like a really alien way, and there's like different colors. So there's a couple of red ones, a couple of purple, a couple of blue, a couple of green, and they're kind of like ethereal, and it's the idea that they're like beyond the comprehension of mere mortals, and humans can't understand what these things are. And they take away this other, because the alien that came out first was like a sort of traditional looking alien with all these spiky things on him. He's very different to whatever these things are, whatever the Stillness are, and they kind of neutralize that alien, and they're here to do something. They're here to study a class of entity that's incomprehensible to humans, and they call them the Archangels. To which Wally says, "Do you mean the Archangels? Is that what you're talking about?" And they're like, "No, that's not what we're talking about."
So they mean Ark, like the Lost Ark, ARK?
No, ARC.
Okay.
But it's like the Archangels, and then Wally says,
but not Arch, like like Michael and Gabriel. Okay.
So basically, this first half of the issue was like, what the hell's going on? I don't understand any of this shit, and it feels like it's throwing a lot at me very quickly, and maybe if I'd read it right after the first issue, I'd feel like I'd be more comfortable with the context, but it was really weird to read the first half of this. The second half, though, is Wally walks home, and there's some quiet panels with his family, which I liked. And then he wakes up in the middle of the night because he realizes basically a pattern to what the gorillas have been doing. And he calls Terrific, and they sort of map out that what they've been doing in these different spots of the city make a big hexagon, and there's like one last spot for them to hit to finish the hexagon. And they go to this location to try and intercept the last thing they're going to do. And they get there just at the time that the apes show up. Wally fights this like ape. It's not Grodd, it's like the second ape in command kind of thing. And this fight happens, and Wally ends up like using his powers in an interesting way where he doesn't like vibrate to another dimension. He just kind of steps outside of reality. It's like this experience with the Stillness of kind of like tapped into something. Like his connection to the universe is kind of weird, and he can do this. Honestly, it was all a bit weird. It's definitely thrown a lot at me quite quickly. I think the art's generally pretty good, and I do like the layout style, but I was definitely having a bit more of a tough time getting into the flow of this one and just kind of enjoying the stuff it was presenting to me. The end of the issue is that whatever the apes have been trying to do, maybe it's some kind of portal or something they're trying to open, it seems to open next to the Flash statue, which happens to be right next to where Barry Allen's sitting. So Barry pops in at the end of the issue, and that's where it ends. So it's I don't know, I'm definitely a bit more mixed on this one versus the first issue, which is a shame. If nothing else, I hate being the positive one on issue 1 when everyone else was kind of mixed, and then feeling more mixed on issue 2 because it's like I'm being proven wrong here. I don't like that.
So I intended to read this, but I just ran out of time, and with as wordy as the first one was, I prioritized other books this week.
The first half is very wordy because it's a lot of like talking to these alien dudes and a lot of narration, kind of trying to like figure out what's going on. The second half definitely quietens down a lot, though. There's a lot more kind of just like quiet contemplation. Yeah, there's definitely more of a balance to achieve. I'm intrigued by what the story's doing enough that I'll definitely at least try a few more issues before I make any kind of rash decisions. I do certainly hope though the next issues. The week's maybe not quite as busy as this one.
So there were no updates on what's going on with Jay and Irie in this one?
No.
Okay.
So yeah, that's Flash issue 2. It's probably like a 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably still over the halfway point. Like, I don't think it was necessarily a bad issue, but it definitely didn't flow as well, and I wasn't taking in like all the concepts in a way that was satisfying to me.